Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. You get fairy dust, and I get fairy dust, and Amelie gets fairy dust. And welcome to Ask an Advanced Bitch. That's me. A little shout out to imperfection practice. So I already recorded this video, and then when I was done, I saw a huge thing in my teeth from my salad I had for lunch. I had made a 15-minute video with a piece of lettuce in my fucking teeth. And I'm like, imperfection practice? And it's just like, yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm not gonna be there. And honestly, I mean, I did think it would be really distracting for you and that you would feel like, no, Elizabeth, go ahead and take it out because it is distracting. So I was actually thinking about you, but also just wanted to check in, and it's always important for me to be real about the level I do this shit, and talking on a video that will be on YouTube until we all blow up. Not yet. Maybe one day. And maybe you've already done it without noticing. I think it's that. All right, ask an advanced bitch. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is an important question, and I'm shifting gears. Okay, ready, and okay. Thank you so much for your videos and message. I find your Instagram really inspiring and helpful. I loved the video on depression that was posted today, and it prompted a follow-up question for me. Is it normal to go through painful, difficult things? In my case, I've struggled with infertility and gone through painful family estrangement in the past 3 years and feel depressed and low functioning for years. For the past 3 years, navigating infertility and family dysfunction, I have felt like I've been in a fog of grief that won't seem to lift. And I have seen a therapist, which has been helpful, but I still find myself feeling joyless and in emotional survival mode. Do I just hope and trust this foggy sadness will lift eventually, or do I need to take extra steps to get out of this major funk? Thank you for any feedback, and keep up the good work. Ding! Okay. Honored. I contacted her directly right after she wrote this, and I told her this because I wanted her to know it as soon as possible. I believe that anybody who has had infertility, that's not just grief, but also a trauma. Having infertility is a traumatic experience. No matter which part of it you're in, it's so painful, so horrific, so stressful, and all the things that intertwine into it, to me, is a trauma. I don't have the research on that. That's just my personal opinion. And I have also experienced infertility. And I also told her that I am speaking from experience, but it is a totally different experience for people who have had infertility without children and with children. And my fertility experience was I tried to have a child with my second husband, and I wasn't able to. We weren't able to have a child together. And that was devastating and hard and sad. But at the same time, I already had 2 children, so I did get to already experience motherhood. And that is a trauma if you don't get to experience that and you want to. It's traumatic. So I just wanted to, when I speak to my own experience, understand that I know that it's different. And it's just heart-wrenching. And it's just different. When things aren't better or worse as far as pain, they're just different. All right. So there's that, and trauma impacts us, and it's in our brain. It impacts the way our outlook. It impacts our days. And most of all, it impacts functioning. So functioning goes way down when we're experiencing trauma, or if we're experiencing the grief, or if we're experiencing depression. That's function. It's just going to happen. It's not, and so it's really important. It's one of the things I talk about so much in my office, especially in grief. I mean, I am bombarding my poor clients with the word functioning when they're grieving, to remind them, because most of the people I see, just like the people that engage with me on social media, on my YouTube channel and Instagram, are very high functioning. Like, we're top of the line, do the best, are the best. Like, we're experts in our fields. Like, we're amazing, and we can accomplish a lot. And so when low functioning hits us, it is fucking devastating, because we are not used to it. And we're used to, she talked about overrating it with survival mode. And that's, we're really, really good at that. But sustained, it's very difficult. And 3 years is a really long time. And I'm so proud of you. You've gone to therapy. And I want you to notice that it has helped. And that's an important thing to know. So some things that you can think about therapy is, what has worked the best, what kind of things have worked the best in therapy, and do more of that in therapy, and also do more of that with yourself. And I would say 3 years is too long. The pickle is, if you're in infertility, like, that's just the name of the game. Like, if you're trying to have a child, intentionally trying to have a child, and struggling with that, I mean, every fucking month when you start your period, that's a fucking trauma. That triggers the trauma all over again. I mean, it's a horrific thing. And then you get this Pavlov's dog experience of just that normal, natural experience that we have in our life that's a pain in the ass, our abdomen, that now it's something else, and it's just devastating. Like, it's so disheartening, so disappointing, so heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching. So, and then you go through that monthly. And then for people who aren't actually actively doing the infertility practice, and every month there's hope, and then it's just destroyed. So it is awful. It is so hard. And there's so many feelings on so many levels. I mean, I remember being angry at people with strollers. Like, and I'm just like, that's not me as a person. I don't feel that way. I'm happy for everyone, and I'm so happy for that person. And there was a part of me that was so fucking angry, and I wanted to get them out of my vision, like, as soon as possible. And I hated them, both the baby and the mother. Like, that's that's horrible. And then you have to you're fucking just going to the store, and then you see that, and now you're grappling, you're in full trauma. And also you're grappling with thoughts that you're having that have nothing to do with your integrity, that have nothing to do with your identity. And it's just like, I didn't know that was in me. I didn't know I could feel that way about a beautiful thing, but it's fucking triggering, and it's trauma. So I'm just, showing you the calisthenics that have to go on psychologically when you're dealing with something like this. And so there is going to be low levels of functioning, some depression, some reactions to trauma. In my opinion, it's not necessarily like, is this trauma? Is this depression? That's more crazy making. Just understand, it's like, well, I guess this is whatever this is. This is a nightmare regardless. It's always a nightmare, whether it's depression, grief, or trauma. Like, it's just a nightmare, and we just have to deal. And so my first advice is, get as much off the calendar as you can. When you are dealing with low functioning, as everything has to come off the calendar. Everything. If you have kids, only their things get to stay on the calendar. If you have, you're not going to be able to make dinner all the time. This is a time where they're not going to eat the best, and that's just going to be okay. And this is about living imperfectly as you can. But a way to get support is not just therapy. Maybe you need someone to help you clean the house. Maybe you need a personal assistant. Maybe you need, you get to have support. And life can be overwhelming and hard, and so you get to have support. I did want to say one more thing. Oh, the family estrangement, that's a whole other thing. And I think of it and deal with it in a certain way. It's traumatic either way. That is also a trauma, in my opinion. And then also, I have tactics and skills and tools for that kind of stuff. And so, but I will fold it in here by saying that also will impact your functioning. And, you know, if it's traumatic to you or if it's stressful to you, that's taking away your energy. So it seems to me all that's asked here of you is just to get as much support as you can. And you get to have that support. Like, it's necessary, and you deserve it and you need it. And when my functioning goes down, I treat myself like a fucking queen. Like when my, and no guilt at all. No guilt at all. Absolutely not. Okay, I have one more thing for you. And it is something that is really important. I just discovered it last year because that's when Ingrid Fittelli wrote her book, Joyful. It seems weird, but you were talking about feeling joyless. This book to me is incredible. It has blown my mind. And she's a designer. If you haven't read it yet or don't know about her, she's a designer. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, another self-help book by a psychologist about joy. No, something better. She's a designer, and she studied the things, the actual things, objects in our life that bring us joy. And when I read it, of course, I took every single thing I could out of it for my own toolbox. But I gave it to every single client. Every single client, I got a copy of this. And I never do that, ever, 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 ever. But I realized that for my grieving clients, if they could just make sure that their lives had things in them that just brought them joy without having to work for it, because when we're grieving, we don't have the energy to work for joy. But if you, oh, excuse me, baby, if you have things in your life that bring you joy, just in your eye line, like I see what's behind me, and I see my little Harry Potter, and that's very supportive to my soul and my spirit. And I don't have to earn it. I don't have to look at Glenda and say, okay, I'm going to stare at you and you're going to bring me joy. No, that takes energy. I don't want any of that. But it's just, and the flowers behind me. You know, Ingrid Fittelli gave me full on permission to get all the fucking flowers I want. And that's why you see flowers. So, and I don't have any, they're impacting me with increasing my joy. That is supportive of me without me having to do a goddamn thing. I get to lay, and if my eye catches it, then I can be joyful. So she in here covers the things, but I wouldn't work for this. I would just simply, when you have the energy, you can start reading it, or definitely listening to it on Audible. That takes even less energy, so you can do that too. All right, and yeah, so I hope that was helpful. I am right here for any more follow-up questions, and I am just sending you so much love. I've been there. My default mode when I'm feeling the worst of the worst of the worst is depression and not moving, no functioning at all. So I can really, really relate. But you get to live while you're doing hard things. You get to have joy while you're doing hard things. You get to take really good care of yourself when you're doing hard things. I hope that was helpful. I'm thinking about you. Love you. I'm honored that you asked me. Okay.